Huh.
Well, good morning, fellow interwebbers. Look at this. Look at this weather. That big turbine. We're knocking on September's door, and it's turned out today, Sunday, it's turned out to be an absolutely glorious morning. It's a bit chilly. It started off at about 8 degrees this morning. But yeah, it's sunny, it's dry, so it's time for a Sunday blast. Now it's a bit impromptu, so I've not got all my camera gear with me, but I thought I needed to do this. I took a KTM for a test ride, and I really quite liked it. So me and the Honda may be parting company, and it's been a wonderful relationship. But I thought I'd just mention, or should mention, because I've not done a long-term review on this bike, and I don't think I'm going to. There's enough of them. People, this bike's been out for a few years now. People know what they need to know about the bike, I think. But I thought I'd do a quick video on my likes and my dislikes, because it's all subjective really, isn't it? I think. Just turn the heated grips on there. Level 3. Yeah, I just thought I'd do my dislikes and my likes, and you never know, it might help somebody. So I'm not going to do them in any particular order. I'm not going to do all the likes first and then the dislikes. I'm going to mix it up a bit. It might be a bit random, because I'm not very good at talking while I'm riding. Let's start with a positive. One of the things I like most about this bike, about the CB1000R and its new retro style Neo Sport Cafe Racer guise, is the looks. I cannot deny it's a good looking bike. It looks what's a good word for it? It looks not beefy, it looks capable. It's got a nice stance, it's got a nice bulk about it, which it should have for a litre bike, and the styling of the front especially, I think Honda have done a fantastic job of. That LED light with the ring round, and I'm still not so sure about the indicators being lit permanently, but certainly the front I do like. The single-sided swing arm, again, gorgeous looking. That tailpiece with a number plate on, not so sure about that, but yeah. So overall, I do like the look of the bike. And now I've removed the passenger foot pegs and got rid of that awful exhaust. It does look good from the side as well. Is it there? So yeah, number one like is the looks. Which moves me on to, I mentioned it there, one of the dislikes. One of the first things I disliked about the bike was the exhaust. It was a bread bin, wasn't it? It was massive, and it was quiet, and okay, it did its job. The Euro 4 nonsense, but it was not ugly, just too big. It's far too big. So the bike's currently got the SC Projects GP cam slip on, on, and it does improve the looks. It's expensive, as old slip-ons are, but it's worth it. And when and if I trade the bike in, the slip-on will be coming off and being sold separately, so standard exhaust will be going back on. Otherwise you just lose that money in the trade-in deal. So yeah, that's the first dislike, was the stock exhaust. It's that could be said about most bikes, I think. So what's next? What else do I like? I do like, it took me a while to get used to, but I do like the engine on this Honda. It's incredibly smooth. From about 4,000 RPM it starts to pull, and then when you get up to 7 it really pulls. But the fueling, the ride-by-wire, all that nonsense, absolutely silky smooth. Never had any stutters or bad fueling, slow riding around town, fast riding. Absolutely, it's fast enough for what I need. 143.5 brake horse. It's definitely fast enough for what I need. And I think it's, in my opinion anyway, it's enough, or more than enough, for use on the road. It took me, like I say, it took me a while to get used to, coming off a street triple, and going from the triple to the 4-pot. Yeah, it took a bit of getting used to. I didn't like, I felt I was revving this too hard, but as it turns out, no, I wasn't. So yeah, I have got used to it, and it is a superb engine coming off the 2006 Fireblade, albeit slightly retuned, and I think it's got a longer stroke as well. But yeah, definitely a plus on this bike is the engine. Again, it brings me to one of the dislikes, which is about the engine, but it's it's not the engine that's the problem. Occasionally, I would say 1 in 20, so 5% of the time, you turn the bike on, you turn the ignition on, and the temperature will show 132 degrees centigrade. Now if you try and start the bike, it won't start. So I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Oh, what's going on here? That was a bit risky. But it's happened a few times now, and I think it's just either a key recognition fault or some kind of electronic wizardry that says no, you can't start. But if you turn the bike off and then on again, it goes back to normal and starts. The first time it caught me out, which was a bit embarrassing really, was at a Yamaha dealership. So I'd arrived on the Honda. I can't remember why I was there. I'd arrived on the Honda, come out the shop, jumped on the bike, and there's lots of people outside in the back where they keep all the bikes, and turned the bike on, and no, would not start. Oh, so one of the mechanics came over and he said, you having problems, son? And I said, yeah, it won't start. He said, He said, have you tried turning it off and on again? I said, no, I haven't. He said, yeah, there's a thing with these Hondas. Sometimes they just refuse to start. And that's when I looked down and I noticed that the temperature was 132 degrees. And I thought, that's not right, that's too hot. Turn it off, turn it on again. and it went to 82 degrees, something like that. So, and then pressed the button, fired up straight away. Now it's happened a couple of times since. So yeah, that's a dislike. There's a bit of electronic corruption going on in there somewhere, where it doesn't always recognise something, and I don't know what. But it's only a tiny little niggle. You turn it off, turn it on again, it's fine. And if you know about it, it's not an issue. I should have mentioned it really to the service people, shouldn't I? But I always forgot. So, back to likes. One of the other things I like about this bike is the quick shifter. Okay, it doesn't come as standard on the base model, but having the Plus model, it does come with it, and it is really quite smooth. I had a quick shifter on the Triumph, albeit that was only up, like that pothole, but that was buttery smooth as well. But as you can hear, hopefully you can hear, whether you're going up the box or down the box, you go down, up, down to, just smooth as silk, no jolts, no bumpiness, and even at low speed it really does work exceptionally well. I would say I can't fault it, but there is a little idiosyncrasy with the quick shifter. Occasionally, not very often, but occasionally it will change gear, but the system won't know what gear it's in, and you'll get a little dash line come up where the gear should be on the indicator. You just get a little dash, but if you're accelerating, if you decelerate and then accelerate again, it works out where it is. And obviously if you're decelerating and you've changed down, and you get a dash. If you accelerate slightly, it will recognise what gear it's in. Now the manual does say, if it does this, change gear manually, because if you've got a dash there, if it doesn't know what gear it's in, the quick shifter won't work. It won't let you change gear till it knows what gear it's in. But it's just a quick off or on the throttle, and it then works out what gear it's in. So yeah, that's a definite like, is the quick shifter. And I've been spoiled really, because I don't think I could ever be without a quick shifter again now. I can change gear manually, but I'm not as slick as a quick shifter is, and I don't think I ever will be. Not to match the engine and road speed as well as it does. So that's a definite like, is the quick shifter. And while we're in slowish traffic and you can hear me again, let's move on again to something that's a bit of a niggle. It's quite a major one, this one, and I mentioned it very early on when I first got the bike, is the paint. The paint looks nice when it's new, but it is so soft that it's barely usable. You've got to be so gentle with it all the time. Apparently I was talking to a paint chap, like you do when you're sitting in the pub, you talk to a paint chap. I was talking to a paint chap, and then he mentions part of the Euro specifications and regulations, they've taken out a chemical that they use in the hardener for the paint, which makes the paint softer now they can't put that chemical in. The paint's a lot softer. Now, what's going on here? You penis. Where was I? Oh yeah, the paint being soft. Yeah, so it marks and scratches really very easily. It if you start putting tank bags on, like I've done, it's gonna swirl and mark up. But if you were to do some touring and you start throwing big bags on, doing a lot of miles with a bag on, yeah, it's gonna you need some protective film on there. The paint is very soft, but again, it's a little gripe, and it's something you can live with, but yeah, it's not best. Anyway, moving on. Something else I like. What would you call it? Well, I suppose you call it the software. The ride-by-wire user mode, standard, rain, sport, and user, I think it is. And the fact that you can, in the user mode anyway, you can adjust the power, traction control, and engine braking all separately, and you can even turn the traction control off. If you want to wheelie like a dickhead, you can. You've got your little button over there, just where your light flash trigger would be. That's the traction control, and you can individually set between 1, 2 and 3 bars, and if you hold it down, it will turn the traction control off, which not many bikes will allow you to do. So definitely a good thing on this Honda, at least, is the usability. What's the word I'm looking for? Not the usability. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is it's so easy with the rider modes to personalize what you want out of the bike. So you can have very little power, or all the power, or something in between. You can have a lot of engine braking, a little bit of engine braking. Personally, I like just a little bit. I don't like a lot of engine braking. And the traction control, which basically means you can determine how far up you want that front wheel to come. I'm a bit of a pussy, so I don't like it coming up that much. Anything more than a foot and I shit myself. So for that, it's good, and that's definitely something I like on this bike. Let's end with a like, shall we? Let's end with a like. The biggest like I think for this bike is, well, it's many things. It is so easy to ride. If you've never had a litre bike and you're moving up from a 600 or a 250 or whatever, and you're going to get your first litre bike, you can't go far wrong with one of these things. It is so easy to ride. It's not, as long as you've got control of your right wrist, you'll be fine. You can even turn it down. You can turn the power right down. Put it in rain mode, and that'll restrict the power in gears 1, 2 and 3. Or you can just put it in user mode, turn the power right down, and there you go. So it's the usability of this machine. It'll do everything. You can tour on it. You can go just for a little bit of a cruise. or you can cane the shit out of it, get your knee down and become a hooligan. And speaking of hooligans, like I mentioned before, you can just turn that traction control off and you can wheelie all the way to your grandma's if you want to. It's so versatile. And yeah, it's not a super naked, it's not an Aprilia 200 or a freaking V4 Street Fighter. It's not in the same league, simply not. It's a powerful bike, don't get me wrong, it's a very powerful bike, but it's not a super naked. It's just a naked liter bike. I wouldn't even go so far as to call it a sport bike. It's a very soft, comfortable, powerful little bike. You can lose your license on it, yeah, but for an all-rounder, it's superb. And that's the thing I like about this bike. 2 and a bit years I've owned it. I've done all sorts. You can go out for a relaxing ride, you can go out for a my arse is on fire ride. So that's definitely my biggest like of this bike, and one of the reasons I bought it was it was so easy to ride. It is my first litre bike, and I've not found it intimidating at all. It's been absolutely superb, and I'd recommend it to anybody who's looking at a naked bike. I'd say, yeah, have you looked at the Honda? Try the Honda, depending on what you want. If you want, one-piece leather, knee sliders and all the rest of it, this isn't the bike. But if you're like me, getting a bit old and wobbly, and you don't want to get a GS just yet, you've still got some spirit in you, then yeah, definitely get one of these. So thanks for listening, guys. I hope that's helped. I can't think of anything else that's worth mentioning about the bike that's a like or a dislike. As usual, my videos are non-informative. But thanks for listening, if you've got this far, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.